Let's take a look at the practice quiz for Standard 11. We're going to look at operations with rationals for these 5 questions. Number 1 says to simplify the following rational expression and state any restrictions on the variable. So the first thing you want to do is factor everything out in the numerator and in the denominator. So x squared minus 9 is a difference of 2 squares. So we first want to factor that into the square roots of each one. So the square root of x squared will just give us x. And the square root of 9 will give us 3. And then we need a plus and a minus sign to make those factors make good sense. At the bottom we have a trinomial that's a simple trinomial with a equals 1. And so we just have to figure out what will multiply to give us negative 3, the c value, and what will add to give us 2. And these numbers have to do both. And so negative 3 could come from 3 times negative 1. And then 3 plus negative 1 would equal positive 2. So that gives us our factors for the trinomial, which are x plus 3 and x minus 1. So then is a good time to pick out the restrictions while you can see them easily in the denominator. I see that x cannot equal negative 3 because negative 3 plus 3 would have equaled 0. And x can also not equal 1 because 1 minus 1 would have equaled 0. So I've got my restrictions stated. I can cancel out this factor that looks the same in the numerator and in the denominator, my common factor, and then write the simplified form, which is x minus 3 over x minus 1. So now I'm all finished. And I had just put a place where you could put these restricted values right down here. But as long as you have them stated, it's just to help you remember not to forget about them. All right, number 2 says to multiply the following rational expression and state any restrictions on the variable. All right, so we first want to factor out the trinomial that's in the numerator. So I've got to multiply to get 4 and add to get 4. So that would be x plus 2, x plus 2. In the denominator, we have another difference of 2 squares. So I'd want to take the square root of x squared and 49, and I get x, and the square root of 49 is 7, and I need a plus and a minus. So I've got the first fraction factored out. In the next fraction's numerator, I see I have a greatest common factor of x. So I can take out x, and I would have x minus 7 left over. And then in the denominator, I would just have x plus 2 that stays like it is. So let's go ahead and state what the restricted values would be. I see that x cannot be negative 7. It cannot be positive 7, and it cannot equal negative 2, because those are the values that would make those denominators equal to 0, so they are restricted. Then I can see my common factors are x minus 7 and x plus 2, and that's it. So let's bring over what's left in the numerator, which is x times x plus 2, and then in the denominator I have x plus 7, and that would be it. All right, number 3 wants us to divide the following rational expression and state any restrictions on the variable. So dividing, I need to fix my symbol there, means that we first need to keep it, change it, flip it. So keep, change, flip is the first thing we want to do. So keep the first fraction in the order it is and leave it all the same. That's keep it. Change it to multiplying, and then flip the second fraction around. So we'd have y squared minus 5y minus 6 in the numerator and 5y minus 10 in the denominator. So now we can continue this problem as if it's just a multiplying problem and factor everything out just like we did on the last one. So y squared minus 4 is a difference of 2 squares. So I'm going to factor that into y plus 2, y minus 2. In the denominator, I have a simple trinomial, so I've got to multiply to get 36 and add up to negative 12. So that would be y minus 6, y minus 6. And then I have another trinomial where I have to multiply to get negative 6 and add to get negative 5. So that would be y minus 6 and y plus 1. And then in the denominator, I just have a greatest common factor I could take out, which would be 5, and I'm left with y minus 2. All right, so I've got everything factored out. I'm going to state the restrictions. So I see y cannot equal 6 for either one of those. I just have to list it once, and it can also not equal 2. Let's cross out the common factors. So I have y minus 6 at the top and the bottom, y minus 2 at the top and the bottom, and then that looks like that's all I can cancel out. So I'm going to bring over y plus 2, y plus 1 in the numerator, and then 5 times y minus 6 in the denominator, and then that's all I can do for number 3. Number 4 says to add the following rational expression and state any restrictions on the variable. So before I add, I can go ahead and tell that x can't be negative 7 or positive 8. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those down here for the restricted values. And then I'm going to focus on getting a least common denominator. So I notice that I can't make x plus 7 become x minus 8. And I can't make x minus 8 become x plus 7. But what I can do is multiply one side by what the other one looks like, and then they will match. So just make sure you multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same thing. So I get 3 times x minus 8 all over x plus 7 x minus 8 plus 4 times x plus 7 all over x minus 8 times x plus 7. Now that they have a least common denominator, I can clean up the numerator. So I need to distribute the 3 and distribute the 4 and then combine like terms. So let's say 3x minus 24 plus, and I like to leave that together, plus 4x plus 28. Just in case it was a subtraction sign, you just want to be really careful with your numerator. Now it's all over x plus 7x minus 8. So I can continue to put things together because 3x plus 4x would give me 7x. And then negative 24 plus 28 would give me positive 4. And then it's all still divided by x plus 7, x minus 8. But I can't simplify that any further, so we just leave it like that. Notice when you're adding or subtracting, you get a least common denominator, but you also keep it. Don't get rid of it. So it's not like when we're solving. You want to keep it. For number 5, it says subtract the following rational expression and state any restrictions on the variable. So let's look at the variables, or excuse me, the restrictions first. So I see x minus 5 is in the denominator, so x can't equal positive 5, because that's what would make that denominator equal to 0. And then to make these the same, I need to multiply the one on the left by 3, and then the one on the right by x minus 5, and bring that down. So I have 21 over 3 times x minus 5 minus 4x times x minus 5 over 3 times x minus 5. And now that I have a least common denominator, I can combine the numerator. So I have 21 minus 4x squared, and then be careful because you have a minus 4x and then a minus 5, so that's going to become a positive 20x. All over 3 times x minus 5. So let's just clean that up and put it into standard form. So we put the one with the highest exponent first. So negative 4x squared plus 20x plus 21 all over 3 times x minus 5. So we could see if we could factor out the numerator to see if anything would reduce. So let's see, if I take out a negative, then I have 4x squared minus 20x minus 21. And I'd have to multiply the 4 times the negative 21 to see if I could multiply to get that number, which would be negative 84, and add up to get negative 20. So what we can do is use our calculator to help us. So let me grab my calculator. Let's see. So a nice trick with your calculator is you can type in y equals the number you need factors for divided by x, and then check the table and see if you can see anything that would add up to negative 20. So let's see. I do not see anything that would help us to get negative 20. Nope. Okay. So then that won't work. And so we've done everything we can to simplify after we subtracted those. But it's good to check and make sure you've gone as far as you can, but you don't want to go any further than you can. So that is it for number 5. All right, so that's it for practice quiz